stand enough for his whole life, to draw the right path or to return to his beloved Lord, Allah Almighty. In this surah, as I recited in the beginning of my talk, Allah Almighty states, Wal Asr. So He swears on time, as it is interpreted in different tafasir and kutub of tafasir and according to mufassirin and translations. So it is that Allah Almighty vows or swear on time, Wal Asr. And then the next part of this verse is, Innal insana lafi khusr. That there is no doubt that a human being is in vain, or it is the human being is in loss, in a complete loss. Because if you see the grammar of this verse, so it is, the word is used in the form of nakra. It is in general, the generality prevails there. It is not specific loss mentioned in that verse. It says, Innal insana lafi khusr. In general, overall, the human being, insan, is in loss. And Allah Almighty says that Wal Asr, He swears on time, that I swear on the time, that human being is in total loss. Then He says, Illa allazina amanu, except those who accepted or become or believed or in Islam or accepted or entered into the house of Iman, the boundaries of Iman. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. And then they conducted or committed or pursued good deeds in their lives. وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. And they stood fast with truth. Or there is another interpretation of this word, that وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. They became supporters of the right path. They became the supporters of those movements, those groups who are on right path. وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. And then whatever came in their way, they faced that hardships with sabr. And then they were doing their sabr on those hardships which were faced by them in the way of standing by haqq and those movements. So these are four elements. So now I would go to the first verse, in which Allah Almighty says, Wal Asr. There is a rule which has been described in Kutub of Tafasir and Aimma and Mufassirin and Aimma Tasawwuf, Ulama of Islam. They have discussed that this is not a routine or principle of Allah Almighty. He would never swear on common things. That is not His level, or that is not His shan, to swear on normal things. When Allah Almighty swears that I swear on time, so time has to be something which is really important, that Allah Almighty is actually taking a vow of it, or swearing on that element. So that element has to be of that level and importance to Allah Almighty. And dear audience, if you see what exactly the time is, when there was no human being or no life on the earth, was it possible to calculate the time? No. For example, scientifically, if today we see and discuss the black hole, the concept of black hole, so there is no, we cannot analyze the time or distance or anything in black hole, because there is no life there. So when there is no life or there is no human being, so actually, so you cannot calculate the time. So time itself has nothing. Time itself is nothing. So time can only be calculated, or time can only gain importance when there is a life, when there is a people on whom the time is passing. That makes the time something calculated, something valuable. The people, the life. As hadith of Rasulullah stated, that the best era after me is of those who have met me, my companions, and then of those who have met my companions, tabi'in, and then of those who have met tabi'in. So three. So we get the definition of the time and importance of time and value of time from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he has described that time itself is nothing. So time itself has no importance. So the people, the level of people, the quality of people, they make difference. So they make time good or bad. If bad people are living in some era or time, so the time would be considered a bad time. Or if a good people, pious people, beloved people of Allah Almighty, if they are living in some era of time, so that time would be considered valuable. That time would be considered of high level in the sight of Allah Almighty.
Subhanallah.
So there is a very interesting, for a human understanding, so we see a contradiction. Here Allah Almighty states and says that I swear on time. And then he says that the human being on which the time is passing, they are in total loss. So how it is possible that time works with human being? If human beings are not there, so time has no importance and no value. And he is describing the human being who are in total loss. And the time is passing on those people who are in total loss. So how it is possible that Allah Almighty is actually swearing on that time which is passing on those people who are in total loss? Then there would be a problem. That the time would be of no importance then. Then the problem arises that how can Allah Almighty swear on time which has no importance and no value, because the time is passing on the people who are in total loss. So this is something which we need to understand at this stage. Now then Allah Almighty states, except those people so who entered in Iman, in the house of Iman, and then they pursued good deeds, and then they stood by the truth and Haqh, and then their action was active on the lines of sabr, and their behavior was sabr on those hardships. So this is something we understand here, that Allah Almighty is not swearing on time because of a general human being. So Allah Almighty is actually swears on time only because of His pious special people. So when these four elements we bring together, that entering in Iman, pursuing the good deeds, standing by Haqh, and then the fourth element is facing the hardships with sabr. So when you bring all these four elements together, so actually in the sight of Allah Almighty that human being would become waliullah himself. So he is actually on the path of Iman, on the path of wilayat, on the path of friendship of Allah Almighty. So what actually Allah Almighty says here, that I don't swear on time because of those people, the general people who are in total loss. I only swear on time because of those people who are my friends, who are awliya Allah, who are salihin, who are shuhada, who are muqarrabin, who are siddiqeen, who are anbiya. So he actually swears on time only because of those people. So there is another message in it, that for Allah Almighty, the general people who are in loss are of no importance. He only gives importance to the time only because of those people who are salihin. So he only have importance for those people in his sight. And the time becomes important as well. For example, if we see the past centuries past, in every century there were great kings, great leaders, intellectuals, writers, scientists, a lot of people. But then there were his friends too. In the same time, in same era, there were great awliyas too. There was a time when there was a king in the time of Sayyidina Ghawsul Azam, Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. There was a king of that era too. But then at the same time, in same era, Sayyidina Ghawsul Azam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was living too. Then there was a time when Sayyidina Data Ali Hujweri radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was alive and he was working and serving the humanity. At the same time, there was some king as well. Then there was a time when Sayyidina Mohiuddin Qadri radiyallahu ta'ala anhu from India, he was there present in India, serving the humanity. So I am sure there were a lot of kings and rajas of that time, they are ruling in different states. But nobody remembers their name anymore. The rajas' names, the kings' names, those scientists' names. The people remember eras only with the names of friends of Allah.
Subhanallah.
At the time of Sayyidina Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, the time of Imam al-Ghazali, the time of Imam Qurtubi, the time of Imam Bukhari, the time of Imam Muslim, the time of Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, the time of Data Ali Hujweri, the time of Mohiuddin Chishti Ajmeri, radiyallahu ta'ala. So the time itself, the same principle which Allah Almighty has adopted to give a value to some era in time, the same principle prevails in the world too. And we have the same understanding as well. That the time belonged to the friends of Allah. The eras belong to friends of Allah. And people remember eras with friends of Allah. That in that time, who was friend of Allah? Who was Waliullah of that time? Who was Sufi of that time? Who was Imam of that time? That's how people remember the time, the Muslimin. So this is one aspect we get from this surah. Now coming to the second aspect.
Nobody remembers Yazid, everybody.
Nobody remembers Yazid. Everybody remembers
Hussain.
Nobody remembers all those cruels. Only people remember who lived for Allah, who served humanity, who served Muslim Ummah, who become friends of Allah, who followed the path of Islam, who followed the path of the friendship of Allah. So the second message from the same surah, an interpretation. Again, wal asr, Allah Almighty swears on time. Inna al-insana lafi khusr. Generally, a human being is in a total loss. So when we say al-khusr, so a general total loss, so what actually it means? So it means a loss of one thing? No. Here Allah Almighty states that it's a total loss. So which means a loss of umr, loss of life, loss of wealth, loss of shaur, senses, loss of awlad, loss of every single element in this world. So it is, when it says that human being is in a general total loss, it means a loss of everything. Loss of past, loss of future, loss of present, loss of everything. So in other words, when there is a loss of everything, loss of life, loss of identity, loss of age, whatever is in the world. So in other words, we can say, Allah Almighty says that the general human being is going to be fana. He is final. Fana means loss of everything. When we say the word fana, that this world is fani, it is going to be eliminated, it won't be there anymore. The fana word. So the loss of everything actually means fana. So now again, recite this surah with me. Allah Almighty says that swear on the time, when the time would pass, every single thing would become fana, will go in vain, and it would be eliminated except those people who entered in Iman, who pursued the good deeds, who stood by Haqq,
Subhanallah, Subhanallah.
and whose actions and whose behavior was doing sabr on hardships. So again, those four elements make waliullah, the friend of Allah. So Allah Almighty said, every single human being in this world is fani except my friends in this world.
Subhanallah,
So
Subhanallah.
this is another interpretation of it. That every single human being would be fani. The time would come, he would be eliminated. His identity would be gone. His image would be gone. His age won't be there anymore. The benefits would be gone. The only thing would remain, the human being with these four elements. And that makes a waliullah, a friend of Allah. So every single human being is fani, but awliya Allah are baqi. They would remain ever with these four elements. So this is something needed to be followed by us. This is a message lies there in this chapter. That if you want to be there in this world, if you want to be followed, if you want to follow the path to become baqi, then these four elements should become a part of your life. That your iman, your aqidah, your beliefs, they should be appropriate. About Rasulullah, about his friends, about Islam, about Quran, whatever the belief system of Islam is. So that should be in perfect shape. And then a person should continuously be doing the efforts to pursue the good deeds in his life. He should look for good deeds. He shouldn't be waiting at his home that the good deed would come to his home and find him. No. He should go out and look for those good deeds and perform them so that Allah Almighty could become happy. And then the third most important thing, stand by Haqq.
Subhanallah.
So how you would do that? And who would actually determine that what is Haqq and what is not? That is Jamal, Yadullah al-Jamal. That stand by the movement or Jama'at who is on Haqq and support that Jama'at and support that movement. And if you find ulama rabbaniyin of your time, so stand by them, support them. And if you find friend of Allah of your time, stand by them and support them. They are Haqq of that time. So standing by Haqq is supporting that movements which are spreading Haqq around. The movements who are fighting for Haqq around. The movements who are living for Haqq in this world. And supporting those people who are living and spending their life for Haqq in this world and for huquq of people in this world. And then whenever you become part of any movement for standing by Haqq, you would be facing a lot of troubles. For example, if you become a part of Minhajul Quran or any other movement, you see a lot of administrative issues, personality clash with each other. So these all are those hardships which are going to come in your way while following and standing by the movement of Haqq. So there the fourth element comes. So you cannot become a baqi only with three elements. So
Subhanallah.
it's a complete cycle. All these four elements should be part of your personality. And once you become a part of any movement of Haqq and you are supporting any Haqq, so you have to be understanding enough that whatever the hardship would come, doesn't matter if it's something, a personality clash or administrative issue or whatever the issue, or financial issue, or social issue, whatever the issue you face, or maybe issues, or people complain suddenly starting from your own community, what kind of people you are supporting, these all are hardships. So you have to stood fast on them. You have to do sabr on them. You have to keep yourself strictly on the path of sabr, so that those four elements could remain in your personality forever. And these four elements would take you to the path of baqa, and everything else would go in fana, and those people would remain as baqi, who would be following these elements in their lives. Why we see all these awliya Allah, these great shrines of awliya Allah, these great tombs of awliya Allah, and it's been more than thousands of years. Those great shrines and places, they are popular with people, always full with people, people going there, people praying to Allah Almighty on those muqaddas and muqarrab maqamat. Why? Because they all become a baqi in their lives. And now, this is a very beautiful point of Aqidah. Some people from other school of thought, they sometimes come up with the point that when we go on shrines and ask those awliya Allah that give me this, give me that, how they can give? Human being is funny. They cannot even hear you. These are the arguments of those people who come from a different school of thought. So the beautiful answer is that, of course, a funny human being cannot do it. He won't be doing it.
Subhanallah.
We all believe in it, that if somebody is alive, and even they would say that this is jaiz to ask thing and help from a living human being. Yeah, a living person. So they all even believe in it. So this is the answer to it, that those great people and awliya and friends of Allah, before they died, they reached to the point where Allah Almighty made him baqi.
Subhanallah.
So even they are down there in their graves, they are not funny. They are like those living persons in this world. And if we go, you ask things to them, they would be listening. They would be praying for you. They would be asking Allah Almighty to bless you with those ni'mat which you are asking at those places.
Subhanallah.
Because they are baqi, they are not fana. They are not fine. For example, this is the science, biology, and it is a proven theory that if an organ of a human body, if that organ goes dead, and if a single alive cell is entered into that dead organ, that single alive cell would make this whole organ live and make that organ alive. This is the scientific theory. Why? That organ was fana. And suddenly a baqi cell, a living cell was entered into that dead organ. So that living cell alive made the whole organ alive. So this is the sohbah of friends of Allah. Why we go to have blessings from friends of Allah? Why we want to sit in the sessions where the awliya Allah are present, where ulama rabbaniyin are present, where the friends of Allah are present? Why? Because that sohbah would become a reason, and those sohbah and sessions and sittings would make our dead hearts alive.
Subhanallah.
Our dead
Subhanallah.
organs alive. Because those awliya and friends of Allah are like a living cell, a baqi cell. So wherever and whenever that baqi cell and living cell would be attached with anything dead in the society, so that would become alive only because of the blessing of the living cell. This is Quran. When Allah Almighty says, and then narrated the whole story of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam and Sayyidina Shuaib alayhi salam, they were taking a cooked fish with them. And then the place came, which was a place of Sayyidina Khidr alayhi salam. So that place had a blessing in it, that even a cooked fish became alive and went into the water.
Subhanallah.
So this is a great thing which you could have from friends of Allah and ulama rabbaniyin. They are there to make our dead hearts alive. So wherever and whenever you find an opportunity, and we find an opportunity, so we should take that opportunity so that our dead hearts could become alive with iman, with good deeds, with haqq and with sabr.
Subhanallah.
So may Allah bless us with strength to act upon whatever we have said so far. And may Allah bless us with the true love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah bless us with the true love and understanding of maqam of Shykul Islam. And may Allah make us stand by with Minhajul Quran and all those great movements of Haqq and all those great leaders of Haqq in the society. And may Allah bless you all in your life here and hereafter, in your rizq, in your awlad, in your, may Allah take away all those hardships and diseases and all troubles and problems from your life and fill it up with happiness, with joys, with iman, with his rahmah, with his ni'mat, with his karam. Amen.